In the month of May, I read quite a few books. I read 29 books this month. And although I hate that I read 29 books instead of 30, I'm not going to push it and try to force myself to get a 30th book. Anyway, out of the 29 books, I read 20 romantasy books this month, 4 high fantasy books, 4 sci-fi books, 1 thriller, 1 sapphic romance, and 5 romances. I didn't start off the month super duper strong. The Throne of Broken Gods, which is book 2 in the Gods and Monsters series by Amber V. Nicole. I did not really enjoy this. Looking back on it, I think I rated this 3.5 stars, and maybe I'll stick to 3 stars on for my overall rating of this because I do plan to continue on and read the next book in the series. I wasn't turned off from the series, so this is why this isn't 2 or 1 star for me. But I didn't really have a good time with it. I still enjoyed our FMC, so there's that. But this wasn't a great start to the month for me. The next book I read was The Will of the Many by James Islington. This was 4.5 stars. I really, really, truly enjoyed this read. And this was a book club read for me. This is actually the first book club that I've ever been in, and it was a book club read, and I really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait to pick up the second book when that comes out. So super duper excited for that. The next book I read was Never Keep, and it was so good to finally get back to Never Keep. And the Twisted Sisters, they do it for me every single time. They have never missed, and Never Keep was definitely along the lines of what they normally do. I had a great time with this, so yes, Never Keep. I rated Never Keep 4.5 stars. City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. If you didn't really care too much for Crescent City and it wasn't what you thought it should have been, then City of Gods and Monsters is probably what you were looking for. I gave this 4.5 stars. I had an amazing time with this. I cannot wait to pick up book 2, and I probably will next month. The Scattered Bones by Nicole Scarano was so good. I ended up rating this 4.75 stars. I had a great time with this. It was a standalone, but I'm pretty sure anytime I see the name Nicole Scarano, I'm going to pick this up. Nicole Scarano with the standalone became an auto by author for me. Riftborn by Parker Lennox. Amazing. I had a great time with this. This is another academy style, training style kind of thing. Actually, you know what? If you like Nevernight, because that's a FMC with Shadow Magic, then maybe you'd like Riftborn because we have another FMC with Shadow Magic. So I hadn't thought about that before, but Riftborn, I ended up rating this 4.25 stars. I had an amazing time with this. A Tribute of Fire by Soraya Wilson. I ended up rating this 4.75 stars. I had an amazing time with this. It was another trial based kind of thing that turned into something else that was really, really enjoyable. It has a really compelling and interesting magic system, and I can't wait to read book 2, which I believe comes out in June. So I cannot wait to pick that up. The Sunshine Court. This is another Nora Sakovich read, and I'm pretty sure that I came to the conclusion this month that I was hate reading Nora Sakovich's All About the Game series. So I ended up rating this 2.75 stars. I don't really care anymore about these characters. I think I was trying to force myself to like this or force it, and you should never really have to force yourself to do anything. That's how you go into a reading slump. So, yeah, 2.75. I don't think I'm going to pick up another book by Nora Sakovich. If there's a such thing as a auto don't buy, yeah, it would be Nora Sakovich for me. Bro and the Beast by Elsie Davis was short, sweet, to the point, and it was a good time. I ended up rating this 4 stars, and yeah, I'm sticking with that rating. I can't wait to pick up book two. Maybe next month, maybe not. We'll see. But they're short, so it's easy, something easy to get through. The Mercenary and the Mortician by Alexandra St. Pierre. This was a 5-star read, and this book shook me to the core of my being. There was so many things that happened in this book, so many triggering things where I felt like I had no words for it. Lots of moments, lots of things like made me cry, made me laugh. It was extraordinarily triggering, and I enjoyed it. Alexandra St. Pierre made herself a auto by author for me in this month, so I cannot wait to dig into more of her writing and more of her stories. Keeping in mind that they are very triggering for me, this is very, very dark romance, which is nice, but it certainly has made every dark romance that I've ever read seem like child's play. So yeah, let's say that. So if you are interested in reading Alexandra St. Pierre, I do encourage it, but I also encourage more than anything to check the trigger warnings. Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune was another wonderful, wonderful read by TJ Klune. I also rated this 5 stars. I absolutely love this story. I love the inclusivity and the diversity in the writing and the cast of characters in this story. I absolutely loved it. The love story is so sweet. The protective nature that our two male main characters have for the children is something that is storybook, which is funny because I'm talking about a book. It is beautiful. It is something that I wish that I could have experienced as a kiddo. So yeah, the Somewhere Beyond the Sea, TJ Klune, beautiful, 5 stars, top book of the month for me. Any Given Lifetime by Lita Blake. Lita Blake is a auto by author for me, and Any Given Lifetime was no exception to this. I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. I've never rated a book by Lita Blake lower than 4 stars. Exceptional reads. I would be interested if this was a series, but I see why it's a standalone, and I had a great time with this. If you are looking for romance recommendations, start with Lita Blake's catalog because the barrier for entry is not very high. The stories focus a lot on romance, but there are always fantastical elements, at least in everything that I've read so far, and it's a good time. Heavenly Bodies by Imani was very disappointing for me. Maybe I'll pick up book two, maybe I will not, but it was a disappointing time. And I think that that's unfortunate because one of my favorite booktubers really enjoys this series. And we usually agree like 99.9% of the time. And this was just not one of those moments where we could agree. Maybe book two will do a better job. Who knows? But you might have to pay me to read book two at this point. I rated this 2.75 stars. It was disappointing. Dune by Frank Herbert was an excellent time. I had a great time with this. The only criticism I had of the book was a self-criticism. I wish I read the book before I saw the movie because I wasn't surprised by any of the wonderful things that happened in the book, and that's the only reason this book did not get 5 stars from me, but it ended up getting 4.75. So yeah, I had a great time with this. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Finally, I picked up a Robin Hobb book and I read The Assassin's Apprentice, and I had an amazing time with this. I ended up rating this 4.5 stars, and I'm so glad that I finally picked up a book from the Queen of Fantasy. Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This was fine, you guys. Like, it didn't blow me away. It wasn't anything phenomenal, but it was funny. It was easy to read. I had a good time with it, and I ended up rating it 4 stars. Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. I had a great time with this. The writing was very reminiscent of Robert Jordan, and I have said multiple times, but I will say it again, Robert Jordan is my favorite author. So that was a plus 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 for me. And I ended up rating this book 4 stars. Super duper excited to pick up the second book. Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This was just okay for me. I would read the next book in the series, but I ended up rating this 3.75 stars. The Deep by River Solomon was a life-changing read for me, and I ended up rating this 5 stars. I highly encourage anybody to read this book. If you see it, pick it up, just buy it, read it, and have a good time, have a wonderful time. This was a life-changing book for me. The Deep, River Solomon. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I finally picked this up. It was one of those books from my adolescence that I always wanted to pick up, but I never got a chance to. And I finally read it, and I enjoyed it. I ended up rating this 4 stars. Demon in White by Christopher Rocchio. Finally, in this Sun Eater series, we got to something that I thought was really, really interesting and really, really engaging for me. The first 2 books had a lot of world building and a lot of character development. And whereas there was development in the story, it was very wordy for me. And even Demon in White is wordy, but it was a better time than the other 2 books. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this, and because of Demon in White, I decided that I would continue on in the series. Demon in White was a 4.5 star rating for me. So after I read Twilight, I decided that I would just continue reading on in the series, and I read New Moon. And New Moon was kind of disappointing. I didn't really have an amazing time with New Moon. I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. And to be honest, if it weren't for the movies, I'm not sure that I would have continued reading on in the series, but I did continue reading on in the series. And I'm not sure if I would have given it 3.5 stars if it weren't for the movies. So yeah, it's all right. It kind of could have been an email though. Dune Messiah. This was a flop. I ended up in this 2.75 stars. It was a complete departure from the first book, and not in a good way. I was really confused about what was happening, and so much so that it's really making me question if I want to finish the rest of the series, if we're going in the direction of the second book versus the first book. Now, I will pick up book 3 just to see what the direction is and where we're going with this, but book 2 was very disappointing. 2.75 stars. Frank Herbert. No, thank you. Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. I ended up rating this 4 stars. I had a good time with this. This was much better than book 2. And the best part of book 3 was the Volturi. So, yeah. In Twilight Saga, I really enjoyed the bad guys. So, yeah. Especially Jane. Like Jane, that's my girl. Victoria, who cares? Iron Gold. Pierce Brown. Oh my goodness. I was quite literally speechless after I finished Iron Gold. A lot of people were speechless after they read Morning Star, and that was not necessarily the story for me, but Iron Gold, I was beyond words. So I ended up rating this 5 stars. Such a strong start to the second part in this Red Rising saga. Pierce Brown's writing gets better and better and better, and the story gets more and more and more epic every single book. So I'm so excited next month to pick up Dark Age and yeah, have a good old time and enjoy myself. Breaking Dawn. So this was my favorite book in the Twilight Saga. We had a lot of dialogue still, but also we had the spicy scenes that happen in the book, and I like Bella a lot in Breaking Dawn. I have so much fun with her and like her desires, reading what she desired on the page because like it felt so much like what we would actually be thinking that it was so funny. Like what my teenage brain would be thinking, she was saying, and I had such a good time with that. I don't think it was perfect. I don't think that the writing is amazing, and especially compared to some of the life-changing reads that I've read this month, it's like, what in the world am I doing reading the Twilight Saga? But I had a good time with it, so I rated it 4 stars, and it was everything my nostalgic little brain needed. So 4 stars for Stephanie Meyer. The Crimson Moth, I had a really good time with this. I took my time picking up this book, and I would have enjoyed it if I picked it up right when it released, but it was a good time. It was a fun read. I had a great time with it, and I ended up rating this 4 stars. Rebel Witch by Kristen Sigarelli. This is book 2 from the Heartless Hunter duology, and I had a great time with this. I ended up rating this 4.25 stars, and I feel like the duology really should have been a trilogy, just so we could give the author more time to space out the development of their ideas. I'm usually not a person that thinks that books should be longer or that they should be split up more than what they usually are, but I felt like the duology was a bit rushed, and I enjoyed the story a lot. But because I felt like it was rushed, that took away some of the enjoyment of the reading experience to be able to sit and absorb the characters. The pacing thing is such a difficult thing to get to, and it's also very subjective because what seemed rushed to me could have been a snail's pace for someone else, or it could have been something totally normal for someone else. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy to have a series completed, which is super duper hard if you're a fantasy reader unless the author expires. It's very complicated and difficult to actually finish a series, so it's nice to have a series finished. And Kristen Sigarelli is an auto-buy author for me now. Back with my second favorite author, which is Jay Kristoff, and I read Nevernight, which I believe is his first release, at least his first traditionally published release. I think I could totally be wrong about that, but I loved his vampire work with the Empire of the Vampire series, and I wanted to pick this up because we have a totally different female main character. Well, we have a female main character that is the main character. If you know about the Empire of the Vampire, Gabriel is the main character. Of course, we have Dior, who is also a main-ish side character, but yeah, I wanted to see how he was going to write a woman in a book that was mainly the woman's perspective. And I thought it was great. I had a great time with this. It was a nice something that was different. And it's nice to see a female-led fantasy that's not a romance. So yeah, I had a great time with that. Those are the 29 books that I read. I had a good old time. I wasn't sure because of how the month started, what that was going to be like. But overall, I enjoyed myself. If you're curious about my TBR for the month of June, then watch the video on Wednesday. I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.